right, good afternoon. So first of all, I just want to thank the entire GBC team for putting this together. What an honor it is to be here and to have a conversation with Jonathan Daniels, Executive Director of Maryland Port Authority, just about everything related to our ports and also trade, right? But just to give you a little bit of a background, I'm the CEO of the World Trade Center Institute. We're part of a network of 320 World Trade Centers. I represent the one in Baltimore City, but chances are for our delegations, our visitors from other countries, there's a good chance that you have a World Trade Center there, right? So ours, we're downtown, the largest pentagonal building in the world. And what we do is we facilitate, connect, educate, and support global businesses. And we've been around for 35 years, and during this 35 years, we've had a long-standing partnership with the Maryland Port Administration, the Department of Commerce, supporting the initiative of these two very important entities for our region. And most of you know this, but for us, having a port is a major strategic advantage, right? But I want to hear directly from Jonathan Daniels to share a little bit of what does it mean for us to have a port and what's the significance, especially as it comes to trade and supply chain.
Sure, Eddie, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this afternoon and spend a few minutes, and certainly welcome to everybody that's here. If you want to find out how important a piece of infrastructure is to a particular industry or community, pull it out for a period of time. And you find out exactly how important that is. The Port of Baltimore, a little bit by the numbers. Last year, we moved 52.3 million tons of cargo through the port, import and export. That makes us number 9 in the United States. More than $80 billion of value of the cargo that moves into and out of the port. 70% of all inbound containers that come into the Port of Baltimore are consumed within 70 miles of the port. We have a top 5 consumption zone in regards to the amount of people and the amount of buying power in the United States. We had the opportunity to understand the importance of the port because we had the opportunity, unfortunately, to pull it out for a period of time. And we found out very quickly that the 20,000 direct jobs that are supported and that were supported the evening of March 25th, all of a sudden, many of them did not have jobs that next morning. So as far as an economic engine, and certainly appreciate, Ricky, the work that you do there and the brand new bathrooms that you're building, absolutely fantastic. It's part of the assets that we have. We are economic engines. We are international business catalysts in so many respects. The connectivity that this region has, because of our ports, because of our airports, is really, it really happens to be unparalleled. You're looking at more than 270,000 jobs that are supported in the economy in Maryland and a little bit beyond because of this type of asset that is available. Our connectivity into the Mediterranean, into South Africa, into the Middle East, into the Far East, gives us trade lanes that very few people have the opportunity, very few ports have the opportunity to have. Last year, we moved 1.1 million TEUs or containers through the port. Now the recovery, the exports are strong, getting the empties back into the flow of trade, that's very strong. We're going to lag behind a little bit in our Asian cargo coming out. Part of that is dealing with the bookings associated with getting that business back into the port. They had to find other trade lanes for a period of time. But probably by mid-July, you're going to see that trade balance back in a position that allows us the opportunity to see the cargo flows that are balanced out and allows us the opportunity to be able to get those people fully back to work and truly allowing us the opportunity to contribute back into the economy the way that the port was built and the type of impact that we have on the economy in this region.
I love how you talk about the jobs that are directly and indirectly supported by the port. And we often think about like, how do we rank compared to other ports in terms of volume? We're big on automobiles. But when you look at jobs created, right, even with foreign direct investment, it's estimated that about 118,000 of jobs are supported by FDI activities in this region. And a lot of that has to do with our Port of Baltimore. So I want to thank you for your leadership. And we, as we were introduced up on stage, we were talking about the collapse of the bridge. This is a major bridge for our region, and on one front, you've got the tragic loss of lives, which is something that has kept so many people up at night, making sure that these families have the resources that they need. But also, the bridge was essential to our economy. And when it collapsed, it blocked the channels. We couldn't get ships in and out of our port. Can you share a little bit more of like, and this was 2 months into your job. Little do we know, and you've got a lot of experience dealing with crisis, but share a little bit of what that was like, especially coordinating with federal, state, local entities to make sure that we have the right support that we need for our businesses.
Certainly, and I will tell you, anybody who's ever had a call at 1:30 in the morning, if it's your kids, it's a bad call. If it's your boss, it's a worse call. It truly is. And so to get that call at 1:30 in the morning and the devastation that we had, certainly for me, was a once in a career. You just never want to have that type of information coming in. I've had the opportunity to deal with the rebuild after Hurricane Katrina. I led a port, the third busiest cruise home port in the world, in Port Everglades down in South Florida, through the pandemic and grew that business. Came here in 6 weeks after I arrived, the bridge goes in the water. I'm not entirely sure anybody's going to want to hire me anymore. I either follow a crisis or a crisis follows me in one way or another. But in all of the crisis I've had the opportunity to work through, this by far was a level of collaboration I have never, ever witnessed. From the first moment, day one, so the morning of March 26th, when the only question is, what happened? You don't know why it happened. You barely understand the magnitude of the catastrophe itself. The federal government stepping in, the state government and the leadership from Governor Moore, from Lieutenant Governor Miller, Secretary Wiedefeld, the local leadership that stepped up, our county executive, Mayor Scott, everybody coming to the Incident Command Center, egos were checked at the door. All the resources that were necessary were available and provided to us. And within 5 days, the first pieces of steel were being removed from that bridge section. What many people thought would take us up to a year, or as Governor Moore said, what many people thought would take 11 months, we finished in 11 weeks. And why that is so critical, because when you do something for 3 weeks, it becomes a habit. We have a very nimble and flexible supply chain. So many of the ports, so many of my colleagues stepped up down in the ports of Virginia, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Wilmington, all the way down into Savannah and Brunswick, Georgia, to be able to take the cargo that was destined for the Port of Baltimore and allow that the opportunity to come into the stream of commerce into the United States. But make no bones about it, as I told all of my colleagues, and we told all the shipping lines, when the channel opens up, we want our cargo back. We're going to show you how resilient we are. We're going to show you the work ethic that's necessary to be able to get this channel back open again. And that has allowed us the opportunity to be able to be very comfortable that we're going to get the majority, if not all of the cargo coming back. We probably won't be back to that pre-incident level until early 2025, but we have a fighting chance right now. And all the promises that were kept, because every time we would have a conversation with MSC, with Maersk, with Evergreen, they would ask at the end of that conversation, what can we do to help? Our answer was very simple. Bring your cargo back, bring your ships back when the channel opens up. All of those promises have been kept thus far, and we think that they're going to be kept through the entire process.
So one last question. Let's talk a little bit about the rebuild process, right? This is a crisis, but it's also an opportunity for us to do things differently. We're working right now with the state of Maryland to bring global companies and work with local companies as well that may have a new technology that they can deploy to make logistics supply chain more efficient and more resilient. But can you just tell us, and I know we've got 30 seconds left, on for companies in a room that want to participate in this process and work with the Maryland Port Authority, what's the best way to do, and how can they stay in touch with you?
Transportation logistics is changing. We're moving from, and shipping and ports are loath to change. In many respects, they're still pencil, paper, high-pressure sodium lights. You can't even read what's on the paper when you're on the terminal at night. But what you're seeing is technological advances. And the Port of Baltimore and the Maryland Port Administration will be leading in those advancements. A lot of that has to deal with decarbonization, going to more electric-based operations. We'll be working with BG&E, others, to make sure that we have the amount of electrical capacity available coming to our gates. But we just submitted a $180 million grant through EPA's Clean Ports program to allow us the opportunity to change out a significant amount of equipment that's on site, allowing us to become more efficient. Now, that's a workforce issue as well. We have to make sure that we have the workforce available, trained, ready to go when these new pieces of technology hit the dock. And then on top of that, what's it going to take to be able to maintain those? We've got great labor here, some of the best labor I've ever seen at any port I've ever been at. And the amount of hours they have here really set the stage. So we're going to be working hand in hand with labor, working with the community colleges, making sure that the attainment, educational attainment, and the attainment is necessary for us to be able to support those in Baltimore. And that's the great thing. I did not need a job when I left South Florida to come up here, but I came up here and found out that the work ethic, the environment itself is absolutely critical. And that's ultimately what allowed us the opportunity to get through this crisis so quickly and allow us the opportunity not only to rebuild, but to come out of this better than ever.
Thank you.
And thank you.